and welcome to the Witch's Cauldron. My name is Paula. Today's video is the next in my Wicca 201 series, and it is on Herbal Magic and incorporating herbs into your magical practice. Now, one of the things that I caution new practitioners about, and I do this with just about anything, is don't go out and buy all kinds of stuff when you're first starting out. Learn to build a relationship with whatever it is, whether it's an altar tool, a gemstone, anything like that, and herbs. Develop a bond with it before you really sink any money into it, okay? Because you may, I know when I first started out, I was wanting to buy everything under the sun, and I had to really rein it back in, so that I didn't go broke, trying to figure out what I bonded with, okay? So, for the purpose of magic, what is an herb? And what I do is I refer at an herb to be any plant that is useful to humans, whether it's through cooking, medicine, perfume, or other functional objects. And when I say plant, I include trees, okay? That's plants, trees, weeds, herbs, anything you can basically think of, okay? And it even includes fruits and vegetables and grasses and flowers. So when I talk about herbal magic, that is the overall encompassing umbrella of everything that I'm about to talk about. So when you stop and think about it, plants, trees are a visible, daily, tangible reminder of life, death, and rebirth, okay? Plants start out with a seed, okay? They have a divine relationship with the god and the goddess, okay, in order for them to thrive and survive, okay? The goddess, through Mother Earth, provides the nutrition and the sustenance, and then the sun, Father Sky, provides the warmth for the seed to germinate. But they also have an equally strong bond with each of the elements, okay? As I said, with earth, that provides the soil in which they grow. Water provides the moisture that they need to sprout and grow, okay? The sun provides the fire, the warmth, and then air, the seeds, the plants, once they've grown, take in carbon dioxide and synthesize it back out into oxygen in air, in our air, and they help maintain our breathable environment. So think of a plant as it goes through, right now in the US where I am, we're in the summer, we've got our gardens out, summer flowers are blooming. In the southern hemisphere, they're in winter. Their leaves have fallen off. Everything's gone fallow. It's died off to be reborn again in spring. Okay, where we just started the life process with our plantings and our seeds and everything. By the time the end of October comes around in the northern hemisphere and we celebrate Samhain, Samhain is the final harvest celebration. So it is literally a daily reminder of the cycle of life, death, and rebirth, okay? And it's really kind of funny now. Aristotle believed that plants, trees had psyches. In other words, they had a soul, okay? And I was born in Appalachia, and I was raised in Virginia. My family moved away from West Virginia when I was young, and but I spent most of my summers as a child back in West Virginia with my aunt and uncle, who were basically my second set of parents. And we depended on the gardens to get us through the winter for food. We had a very close bond with the earth, the cycles of the year, the seasons, with the weather, with the elements. So this path is almost second nature to me, even though I was raised primitive Baptist and I now walk this path. This path is not that far off in terms of daily life from where I started, okay? Because we depended on the earth and the seasons and plants and animals and everything to provide us sustenance and to allow us to be self-sustainable throughout the year, and to put away and can and preserve things for the winter so we still had food to eat. You know, I was not from an affluent family. You know, we were middle class in Virginia. We didn't have a lot of money. You know, we were on the lower end of, you know, middle class there. But I never went without, and that is because we had such a strong bond to our heritage and our traditions that included honoring, you know, the earth and treating it and the plants and the animals as a living, breathing kind of thing, because we knew that our lives depended on this direct relationship with them. And even when my dad went hunting, and when he taught me how to hunt, we always gave reverence to the animal that gave its life to feed us, okay? The same thing. We gave reverence to the earth that provided us with the means to grow the vegetables, to grow the food that we needed to survive. You know, we took care of her. We, you know, gave back, you know, soil through composting and different things to be able to re-enrich the soil and not strip it barren so that it no longer could bear fruit for us, if you get my train of thought here. And now scientists are actually discovering that plants actually can communicate with each other, and they cooperate with one another. Let's say, you know, if a plant is bit by an insect, it puts off a chemical to repel the insect, and it warns the other plants, and then in turn the plants around it give off those chemicals to repel the insects. Okay, so it's more, when you talk about, you know, tree huggers and stuff, well, guess what? It makes sense, you know, to be a tree hugger and to talk to your plants, because they are a type of, like, sentient being, you know. They can communicate amongst themselves. They can, you know, bring in the energy around it. So, you know, stop and think of it that way. Don't just poo-poo your relationship with, you know, herbs, plants, vegetables, and your environment around you. Because, you know, Wiccans and witches realize that we're all connected by that common, divine, universal energy. So, to strengthen your bond, okay, with herbs and plants, etc., remember that we work with all parts of a plant. In other words, the root, the seeds, the stems, the actual flower, berries or fruit, and the bark of the tree, everything like that. And I recall when I was going through my training, one of the exercises was to literally go outside. We left the classroom, went outside, walked up into the woods, and went and hugged a tree, okay? And what we had to do is to make note of any kind of impression that we got, like, you know, when we closed our eyes, did you see any colors? Did you see any shapes? You know, did you have a change in your emotional state? And I remember very vividly seeing a lot of images that were like really bright and vibrant green, because we did this during the summertime, and I immediately felt calmer. You know, and that's, in essence, I was grounding myself with that tree. So one of the best ways to really have a deeper relationship with plants, trees, whatever, is to grow your own. Okay, if you have any kind of room whatsoever. This can even be just, you know, like a window box or a bay window with, you know, different pots of different herbs sitting in it, you know, somewhere where they can get some sunlight, or do a little container garden on a balcony or a deck. You don't have to have acres and acres and acres to grow things, okay? The one tip that I give you is that for your tools that you garden with, do a consecration ritual with them. Because if you put that divine energy of fertility and abundance and, you know, everything into those tools, it's going to make that plant even more magical for you in the long run, okay? And this can be, you know, if you use herbs like in your cooking and everything, and you've got fresh herbs for that, you know, and you've got like the little basil plant or something like that you can buy in a lot of the markets, and you keep one of those around. Really sit there and bond and consecrate that plant, okay? So you can start out, you know, I started out the video with saying you don't have to invest a whole bunch of money. So where can you really start? First thing you can do is get up and walk into your kitchen and go and look in your cupboard. I will bet that you have garlic, thyme, oregano, bay leaves, rosemary, basil, sage, maybe some mint, tea, and salt in your cupboard. You may even have like chamomile tea in your cupboard. Those are an excellent way to start. If you don't have, you know, the means to do your own plants, start developing a relationship with the herbs and spices that are in your kitchen, that are there already. And you can start out slowly by putting intent into the herbs as you incorporate them into your cooking through kitchen witchery, okay? You know, a simple spell for prosperity is taking a bay leaf, putting it in your hands and charging it, you know, to say something like, you know, my wallet will have all the money and the resources that will meet my needs, okay? Something like that. And charge that bay leaf with that intent, and then carry that bay leaf in your wallet, and you will have enough money to take care of your needs. Not your wants, but your needs, okay? There's a big difference. We don't need to be greedy in the world, but it's okay to start out and use the herbs in your kitchen, okay? And as I did with like gemstones and everything, I came up through about a year of working very closely with various herbs, because at the same time I was going through my Wicca training, was also going through herbalism classes. So I not only had magical intent, but I had medicinal intent as well, okay, or healing. And I developed my 13 power herbs for magical purposes, and then I have my 13 power herbs for healing. Some of them cross over, and then some of them are different, okay? And I would highly recommend not doing something like buying those herbal like sampler things off of eBay or Amazon. Number one, those kits mainly have the cheapest herbs that you can get, like at the dollar store. Not that there's anything wrong with them, but that person is then taking them and putting them in these little teeny, you know, baggies and selling them to you and marketing it up by, you know, tenfold what it actually cost. So be very, very suspect of, you know, things like that. Another thing that I recommend you can do is take a trip out to your yard. If you're, you know, a homeowner and you have a yard, or if even you've got like a common area in a townhouse or an apartment complex, take note of what's growing around you. Do you have a rose bush anywhere in your yard? How about some lavender? I have a big thing of rosemary growing right by my front door, my front steps. Got roses there too. Let's get even further down. Take a look at your yard, at your grass. You have any dandelions? How about chickweed? Those two are very powerful, even though they're weeds, they're very powerful, magical, and medicinal plants. How about, do you have like natural occurring mint that is in essence a weed growing out in your yard? Do you have any marigolds? That's calendula. Do you have a willow tree in the neighborhood? I have a neighbor that has a willow tree, and they allow me to go and wildcraft or harvest from the willow tree, whether it's, you know, and they take it as, you know, I'm help keeping it trimmed and keeping it up, you know, above like height level, and I use the vines, let them dry, and I use the leaves. But I go out there and I, in essence, keep their willow tree trimmed for them, and then they let me have the clippings for it. How about honeysuckle? Do you have any honeysuckle growing along the roadside when you drive into work? I bet if you look in most ditches in the southern part of the United States along the roadside, you'll see mullein growing there. And I'll pop a picture of mullein in right here. So herbs are all around you. The magical, you know, herbs and your magical world is all around you, literally all around you. If you live in what I call a concrete jungle, let's say you live in a major city like New York City or something like that, make a trip to a local garden center or a big box hardware store that has a garden center attached to it. Walk up and down the aisles. What plants call to you? Okay? If you don't have one of those nearby, perhaps you have like a neighborhood park or an arboretum or a botanical garden. Walk along and see what calls to you. Make note of that, okay? Then you can even go to the grocery store and see what kind of, you know, my grocery stores and Whole Foods stores have those little, you know, fresh herb plants like basil and sage and, you know, some of the other ones. They also have the little packets of fresh herbs. Do any of them call to you? Are there any fruits and vegetables that call to you? Are there fruits and vegetables that you particularly love? Okay, because each one of them have a correspondence with them. Like a couple of my favorites in the fall are apples and pomegranates, and those are two very, very powerful, fruits that you can incorporate into your magic, not only through kitchen witchery, but into your rituals as offerings. Okay, finally, go to your memory. What kinds of flowers were you always attracted to? With me, I was always attracted to Dutch irises, peonies, roses, and tiger lilies, and rhododendron bushes. Is there a spice that you always love to cook with, like garlic? Literally, herbal magic is all around you. Now, you can do what is called, if you grow your own or you have the ability to go somewhere and harvest your own, that is called wildcrafting, okay? And the thing to remember, if you're wildcrafting for a specific intent, in other words, you're harvesting an herb or a plant for a fruit for a specific intent, as you're wildcrafting, focus on that intent, okay? If you've grown a lot of whatever, let's say a bunch of rosemary, and you cut a bunch of rosemary for different uses and everything, but you're going to dry a bunch of rosemary, then don't set the intent of the rosemary until you go to do your spell or your ritual, okay? When you wildcraft, it is very important to thank that plant, that tree, for its sacrifice. Ask permission to harvest it, and then thank it for its sacrifice. And usually, like when I, let's say, fix a, let's say when I do green peppers, I cut out the core and I scrape the seeds off, and I take the seeds off and dry them, and then I have seed for my next year, okay, for that I can go and plant in my container garden. So think about things like that. You can also purchase them, okay? There are a lot of reputable sources. As I said, you can go to the grocery store and get a lot of this, and I really prefer to get, like, my herbs, especially my healing herbs. If I have to buy them, I get them like from Whole Foods, because you want to get something that's organic, and you want to get something that's ethically sourced, okay? Two of the most controversial herbs that a lot of people use routinely for smudging, but they don't think about the impact of that, are white sage, ceremonial white sage, and Palo Santo wood, okay? These are sacred items to Native Americans in the U.S. So I always buy my Palo Santo and my white sage from a source from one of the Indian reservations, because it's harvested in a ceremonial manner, and due reverence is given, and they don't over harvest it. Those two are like literally endangered species, because so many people have gotten into, oh, I need some sage to smudge my house and get rid of all the bad energy and this, that, and the other, that people are over harvesting the white sage that is sacred to Native American tribes, okay? So remember that. Same thing with Palo Santo. The same thing with sandalwood. If you bond with sandalwood, and I do, get it from a source where it's ethically sourced. A lot of the sandalwood, the manner in which it is harvested, kills the tree. They kill the tree so that it can no longer provide that bark for the sandalwood. So make sure that you buy from vendors that have ethically sourced materials. I also recommend that you buy from small businesses like, an occult shop, a new age shop, something like that. A lot of times, if they did not make sure that their herbs were good, that they were fresh, they would not have return customers, okay? And the same thing, with your gemstones and your essential oils. They take a lot of care in getting quality products in. Now, you may pay a little bit more for ethically sourced products, but you will ensure that it'll still be here for generations by doing your little part. One other thing that I can suggest is, instead of using white sage in your smudging, use sweetgrass. Sweetgrass is not endangered. It's, readily available. It propagates easily, and it has the same basic magical properties for smudging as white sage does. Okay, so just be very mindful of where your herbs that you purchase come from. That's why I kind of recommend, hitting your cupboard and things first before you start buying a lot of stuff, because a lot of people get their stuff, cheap on eBay and Amazon and stuff like that. There are some good vendors on there, but they're few and far between. Okay, now you want to think about how you can incorporate herbs into your magical practice, and it's a lot easier than you think, because they can go in dream pillows and sachets and witch bottles and spell bottles and poppets and charms, talismans, amulets, even if you make your own soap and candles. Okay, you can incorporate the intent and the herbs through your cooking, and baking and kitchen witcheries. You can make your own teas and tinctures and decoctions and healing ointments and salves, and develop your own ritual baths, and do a practice of self-care. You can whip up your own lotions and your own like laundry detergent. I make my own laundry detergent out of other ingredients like zote soap and some water and borax and washing soda, but I add in essential oils that correspond to getting rid of, bad negative energy and really cleaning the clothes. Also, you can, clean with herbs. And what I have done in the past is take like a tea infuser, put my lavender and sage in that, boil up some water, let that infuser steep for a little bit, and then add that tea that I've made from sage and lavender to my mop water. Okay, and I mop my floors with it. I'll scrub my walls down with it. And if you use something like lemon oil to polish your furniture, lemon oil is very good at getting rid of negative energy from your space. So there are all kinds of things, and your imagination is the only limit to how you can incorporate these herbs and plants, fruits and vegetables and woods into your everyday life and make your life more magical by maintaining a magical household. Who would have thought that just general cleaning could become a magical ritual within itself? Okay? With all herbs, they almost all have more than one intent. So when you go to use them, just like with gemstones or anything else, you have to set the intent. I do this very simply, just like I do with gemstones. sit there, concentrate, focus on what I want it to do, and then go forward. If I am drying my own herbs that I have wildcrafted, or my own flowers that I have hanging and up and drying in my kitchen, I set the intent, if I have it for a specific ritual in mind, I set the intent every day until they have air dried. Or I spend, a few minutes with them every day until they air dry. If I'm drying something in a dehydrator, every 10 minutes or so, I go back, put my hands on the outside of the dehydrator and feed that intent until the herbs are dried. Okay? It is very important for you to do your due diligence and your research. Before you ingest any herb, do your research. There are some of the herbs that are poisonous to people. There are some herbs that are poisonous to your animals. You don't want to keep them to where they can be accessible by little hands, like by your children or by your pets. And you never want to ingest something like belladonna, which is deadly nightshade, or henbane, because it's a poison. And so know your herbs. That's why I say start out in your kitchen, because those herbs are safe for you to ingest. There are some herbs that are extremely noxious when you use them, like in incense. Okay, incense is another way that is extremely common that people use to do an herbal blend and then burn or smudge the house, or burn for ritual purposes. There are also, before you use one in like a bath tea or a bath ritual, there are some herbs that you do not want on your skin if you have an open cut. Okay, so think about things like that. You have to do your research. That's why I say you need to develop a relationship with whatever you're doing. Okay, some of the best, there are 3 books. 2 of them I've already mentioned. That's Holland's Grimoire of Magical Correspondences and Llewellyns' Complete Book of Correspondences. I will link them in the description box. But there's also Cunningham's Encyclopedia of Magical Herbs. Those 3 books are my go-tos, and they have been for many, many years. Llewelyn's Complete Book is the newest one, and I think I bought it back when it was published in 2012 or 2013, early 2013, I think. So you've got to be able to research your herbs to make sure you do no harm. Okay? Now, I have what are called my 13 power herbs for magical purposes. You'll find out about my 13 herbs for healing purposes in another video when we get into the healing arts. The first one of mine is Bay, and it's for protection, good fortune, success, purification, strength, healing, divination, and psychic powers. Yes, Rocky is saying hello again, everybody. You know he has to photobomb every video and say to you guys, so he's saying hello. This is my little deaf Australian coolie. I love him to death. The next one that I use routinely is chamomile. And that's for love, healing, reducing stress, meditation, sleep, dispelling curses, protection, and purification. Hijon is another one. And this is kind of like an all-purpose herb. It's like the white quartz of the herb world. It's strength, obtaining success, victory in any situation, gambling, luck, money, health, love, protection, and prosperity. So, and when you pair Hijon with just about anything else, it intensifies the effect of the herbs it's paired with. Jasmine is wealth, money, restful sleep, prophetic dreams, inspiration, new ideas, and love. Lavender, protection, healing, love, sleep, purification, peace, chastity, and longevity, marigold or calendula, prophecies, legal matters, love, dreams, business and legal affairs, dispelling negative energies and psychic powers, rose, and this is rose petals in general, love, close relationships, domestic peace and happiness, lasting relationships, psychic powers, luck, protection, divination, and healing. Rosemary is love and lust, purification, removing negative energy, mental powers, exorcism of spirits and demons, healing, sleep, and youth, sage, purification, banishing negativity and negative spirits, healing, longevity, wisdom, wishes, and cleansing. St. John's wort, protecting against negative magic used against you, protecting from evil spirits, driving away evil and negative spirits, health, power, protection, strength, love, divination, happiness, and memory. Yarrow is for healing, hand fasting, divination, drawing love to you, banishing negativity and peaceful relations. And finally, willow is protection, divination, inspiration, healing, fertility, love, grief, dealing with grief, death, intuition, dreams, visions, and inspired writings and images. Now, those are my 13 power herbs for magic. I also have a few things, 7 more things that I keep on hand all the time. And these fall into the other category, like resins and things like that, resins and salts. The first one is sea salt, and that's for cleansing, consecration, creating sacred space, casting a circle, grounding, protection magic, and rituals. Black salt. This is also known as witch's salt or hoodoo salt, and it's the way that you make it is to use salt to clean out the bottom of your cauldron, and then that blackness that it picks up from inside the cauldron makes it the black salt. You can also buy naturally occurring black salt. I believe it's Hawaiian black salt. You can buy that also. It's good for protection from negative energy, hex and curse breaking, protection from spirits, banishing unwanted people from your life or home, and exorcisms. I keep saltpeter on hand. That's for banishing, exorcism, purification, and keeping a lover from straying. Frankincense, protection, cleansing, purification, consecration, and meditation. Myrrh is spirituality, meditation, healing. It enhances any magical working. It increases the effectiveness of every incense blend that it's incorporated to. It is another, like High John, it is another, kicker. It almost kicks everything into high gear. Dragon's blood. It's used for protection, increasing potency and magical workings, and purification. It increases the potency of any spell work, and it is excellent for banishing and exorcisms. And finally, amber protects from harm and ensures success, clear the mind, bring prosperity, and transforms ambient negative energy into a positive energy. So there you have it. Literally, the magic of herbs, plants, trees is all around you. All you've got to do is just open your eyes to the opportunities to work with them, okay? You don't have to spend a bunch of money. You don't have to break the bank. You can literally be a supermarket sorceress. That is another great book. I can't remember who wrote it, but I've got it somewhere over there, and I'll link it in the description box. All of the links that I put, like to products or anything like that, like on Amazon and whatnot, they are not affiliate links, so you don't have to worry about clicking on them. I just put them there for your convenience. So with that, my friends, the handout is in the description box if you want to follow along with the homework and everything, as is the lunar tracking sheet and the spell worksheet and the ritual worksheet. All of those will be, everything will be linked in the description box as normal. If you have any issues trying to access the Google document with the handouts, just shoot me a DM on Twitter or send me an email, and I will make sure that, you know, I do something to fix whatever might be broken. Google Docs drives me crazy. So anyhow, guys, with that said, merry we did meet, merry we will part until we merry meet again. Be well and walk in love and light, everybody. Bye.